The damp chill of the lake seeps through the adobe walls, settling into the marrow of my bones, long before the sun breaches the horizon. I lie still on the pedate, the woven reed mat pressing a familiar, grid-like pattern into the skin of my back. The air in the room is heavy, holding the distinct, briny scent of Lake Texcoco, mingled with the fading aroma of pine resin burned the night before. It is the smell of Tenochtitlan, a city floating on water, eternally suspended between the mud and the sky. I do not open my eyes immediately. I listen. The city is breathing its first waking breath. In the distance, muffled by the stone and water, the deep, mournful groan of a conch shell resonates from the great temple. It is the priests signaling the end of the night watch. A dog barks somewhere in the district of Amanteca, a sharp, staccato rhythm against the low murmur of the wind pushing through the canals. I push the cotton manta blanket aside. The fabric is thick, dyed a dull rabbit fur gray, heavy enough to trap the body's heat against the morning cold. I sit up. My breath plumes before me, a ghost of vapor in the gray pre-dawn light filtering through the high, narrow window. The floor is packed earth, hard and smooth as polished stone, cold enough to send a shock through the soles of my feet as I stand. My wife is already awake. I hear the rhythmic, grinding friction of stone on stone from the courtyard, the sound of the metate. She is breaking down the nixtamalized corn for the morning meal. There is a comfort in that sound, a vibration that speaks of continuity and survival. I move to the ceramic basin in the corner of the room. The water inside, drawn from the aqueduct yesterday evening, is shockingly cold. I cup my hands, breaking the surface, and splash the freezing liquid over my face and neck. The shock tightens my skin, chasing away the lethargy of sleep. We are a people of cleanliness. The filth of the night must be washed away to face the sun. I take a small pinch of ash and salt from a gourd bowl, rubbing the grit across my teeth and gums with my finger. Then rinse my mouth, spitting the water into a separate waste jar. The taste is acrid, saline, and sharp. Dressing is a ritual of layers. First, the maxtletl. I take the long strip of white cotton cloth, holding it out to inspect for frays. As an Amanteca, a master feather worker, my appearance within the district must be respectable, though never ostentatious enough to provoke the jealousy of the high nobility. I wrap the loincloth around my waist, passing it between my legs and tying it securely at the hips. The knot must be firm. To have one's maxtletl loosen during the day is a clumsiness belonging to a child, not a master artisan. Next, I drape the tilmatli, my cloak, over my body. It is made of maguey fiber, woven tightly. I tie the knot over my right shoulder. The fabric is coarse against my neck, a reminder of my station. I am not a lord who wears soft cotton in the streets. am a hand that serves the lords. I slip my feet into my cackle, sandals with thick soles made of agave fiber, and leather straps that bind around the heel and ankle. They slap softly against the earthen floor as I walk. I step out into the small courtyard that forms the heart of our home. The sky above is a bruised purple, transitioning to a pale, watery blue. The smoke from the hearth fire hangs low, a blue-gray haze that smells of burning oak and roasting maize. My wife looks up from the fire. Her hands are dusted with white corn flour. On the comal, the clay griddle resting over the stones, tortillas are puffing up, the steam escaping in tiny, whistling jets. Beside the fire sits a pot of addle, the thick corn gruel bubbling sluggishly. I sit on a low wooden stool, careful to keep my cloak from dragging in the dust. She hands me a gourd bowl filled with addle. It is hot, radiating warmth into my palms. I blow on the surface, the steam dampening my face. The first sip is thick and coating, tasting of roasted corn, and flavored with a hint of honey and a singular crushed chili pepper that leaves a lingering heat at the back of my throat. It is fuel. It settles heavy in the stomach, a necessary weight for the hours of precision that lie ahead. She hands me a tortilla, folded around a small piece of turkey meat left over from the evening prior. The tortilla is hot, scorched slightly in spots, tasting of the lime used to soften the corn skins. I eat slowly. In our culture, gluttony is a sin. To eat with haste is to disrespect the maize that sustains us. I tear a small piece of the tortilla and toss it into the hearth fire, a silent offering to the old god, the fire that cooks our food and warms our blood. The ember hisses as it consumes the offering. The tribute collectors will come today, my wife says softly, not meeting my eyes. I nod, chewing the fibrous turkey meat. The shield for the military order is nearly finished. It will satisfy them. Ahuitzotl demands perfection, she reminds me. Since the campaign in the south began, the demand for chimali shields has doubled. Do not let your hands shake. I finish the meal in silence. The pressure is a physical weight, heavier than the cloak on my shoulders. Our Emperor Ahuitzotl is a man of war. His hunger for conquest feeds the empire, but it also feeds the demand for our craft. Every captain, every elite jaguar and eagle warrior needs the regalia that marks their rank. My life, my home, the food in my belly. It all depends on the steadiness of my hand and the favor of the gods. I stand, brushing the crumbs from my lap. I rinse my hands again, drying them thoroughly. Moisture is the enemy of the feather. Oils from the skin can ruin the delicate luster of a plume. I walk across the courtyard to the workshop. It is a separate room, facing east to catch the morning light. The entrance is covered by a heavy curtain to prevent the wind from entering. I push it aside and step into the sanctuary of my labor. The smell here is different. It is the smell of the high forest and the tropical lowlands, preserved in death. It smells of dried skin, of natural glues, and the faint, sweet scent of beeswax. The room is dominated by a large, low table made of cedar. The wood is polished smooth by decades of use. I kneel on a mat beside the table. The light from the eastern window is just beginning to strike the surface. A clear, white illumination that reveals every speck of dust dancing in the air. I must wait for the light to strengthen. To work in shadows is to invite error. I begin the preparation. I open a wooden chest, the hinges groaning softly. Inside lie the bundles. These are not mere materials. They are condensed sunlight, trapped in keratin. I lift a bundle of quetzal feathers. They are long, flowing ribbons of emerald green that shimmer with a golden iridescence when I turn them in the light. These come from the cloud forests far to the south, brought by the Amanteca merchants who traverse the mountains. They cost more than a common man earns in a lifetime. I handle them by the quill, my touch lighter than a breath. Beside them, I place the feathers of the cotinga, a blue so electric, so vibrant, it looks as if a piece of the summer sky has been cut out and placed on my table. Then the scarlet red of the macaw. And finally, the most delicate of all, the hummingbird feathers. Tiny, jewel-like scales that flash from turquoise to violet, depending on the angle of the light. Today, I am working on a chimeli, a round shield destined for a high-ranking captain. The base is already prepared, a framework of reeds reinforced with split bamboo, covered in a thick, stretched cotton canvas. The design has been drawn onto the canvas in fine charcoal lines. The image of a snarling coyote, the patron of our guild, surrounded by a border of stepped frets. I reach for my tools. They are simple, yet extensions of my own body. A small copper knife, kept razor sharp. A bone flattener, smooth and rounded, used to press the feathers into place. A pair of copper tweezers. And the glue. I uncover the clay pot of Ahuitzotl. This is the lifeblood of the Amanteca. It is made from the dried and powdered bulbs of orchids, mixed with water to form a sticky, translucent mucilage. It smells faintly floral, but mostly earthy, like wet roots. I stir it with a sliver of wood. The consistency must be perfect, too thick, and it will lump beneath the feathers too thin, and it will soak through, staining the brilliant colors. I verify the consistency. It trails from the stick in a slow, unbroken thread. It is ready. The sun has fully risen now, flooding the workspace with the necessary brightness. I breathe in deeply, holding the air in my lungs for a moment, then exhaling slowly to steady my heart rate. I offer a silent prayer to Ahuitzotl, god who wears the coyote skin, the guardian of feather workers. Guide my fingers. Let my eyes be true. Let the beauty of the bird live again in this shield. I pick up the copper knife. I select a handful of yellow feathers from the troupial bird. These will form the background, the golden field behind the coyote. The work begins. It is not simply gluing feathers to cloth. It is a mosaic. I take a single yellow feather. I place it on a small wooden cutting block. With the copper knife, I slice the quill, removing the fluffy down at the base, leaving only the vibrant, interlocking barbs of the tip. I do this again and again, 20 times, 50 times. The sound is a rhythmic snip, 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 quiet and precise. Once I have a small pile of prepared tips, I dip a fine brush into the orchid glue. I paint a thin strip of adhesive onto the cotton base of the shield, following the charcoal line. I must work in small sections. The glue dries quickly in the dry morning air. I pick up the first feather with the tweezers. I place it against the cloth. I use the bone tool to press it down, flattening the quill so it lies flush. I pick up the second feather. I layer it over the first, overlapping them like the shingles on a roof or the scales on a fish. The overlap must be exact. If it is too wide, the cotton base will show through. If it is too narrow, I will waste precious feathers and run out before the shield is covered. This is the rhythm of my existence. Dip, paint, place, press. Dip, paint, place, press. The world outside ceases to exist. I am not aware of the noise of the canals, the shouting of the canoe men, or the smoke of the city. My universe shrinks to the square inch of cotton before me. I move to the coyote figure. This requires a different technique. Here, I need the texture of fur. I switch to finer, softer feathers, dyed a deep chocolate brown. Instead of laying them flat, I glue them slightly more upright, creating a velvety texture that absorbs the light rather than reflecting it. This creates the depth, the shadow of the animal's muscle. For the teeth of the coyote, I use the white feathers of a heron. They must be cut into tiny triangles, no larger than a grain of maize. My hand hovers over the shield. I hold my breath. A sudden exhale could blow the tiny feather away, losing it to the dust of the floor. I lower the tweezers. The white triangle settles into the glue. I press. It sticks. I exhale. An hour passes. Then two. My back aches from the stooped posture. A dull throb at the base of my spine that is the companion of all artisans. My eyes burn from the intensity of the focus. But I do not stop. The light changes as the sun climbs, shifting the shadows across the table. I adjust the shield, rotating it to keep the working area illuminated. I hear the sound of sandals in the courtyard. Heavy, purposeful steps, My heart tightens. It is too early for the tribute collector. Master, a voice calls from the doorway. It is my apprentice, a boy of 14 summers. I do not look up immediately. I finish placing a line of blue cotinga feathers along the border. Only when the row is complete do I set down the tweezers. You are late, I say, my voice flat. Forgive me, master, the boy says, stepping into the room. He carries a basket wrapped in leaves. The market was crowded. The woman selling the cochineal dye would not lower her price. Did you check the quality? I ask, turning to face him. Yes. It is deep red, like dried blood. No grit. Good. Prepare the dye pots. We will need to dye the white duck feathers for the fringe this afternoon. And be silent. The shield requires my spirit. The boy nods, moving to the far corner of the room where the grinding stones and clay pots for dyeing are kept. He begins to work, the soft clink of pottery joining the silence. I return to the shield. Now comes the most difficult part, the eye of the coyote. It must look alive. It must glare at the enemy with the ferocity of a predator. I select a piece of mother-of-pearl shell, cut and polished into a small circle. This will be the center of the eye, but it needs the surround. I open a small gourd container. Inside are the feathers of the hummingbird. They are iridescent violet. I pick one up. It is so light, I cannot feel it in the tweezers. I have to trust my eyes that I am holding it. I apply a microscopic dot of glue to the rim of the shell. I place the feather. As I turn the shield slightly, the feather flashes, now black, now purple, now a blinding lilac. This is the magic of the Amanteca. We do not paint with pigment that fades and cracks. We paint with light itself. We take the discarded clothing of the birds and weave them into power. When a warrior holds this shield, he does not just hold wood and cotton. He holds the flash of the sun, the speed of the hummingbird, the cunning of the coyote. My stomach grumbles, a low rumble reminding me that the addle from the morning has been consumed by the labor. But I cannot stop yet. The glue in the pot is starting to thicken. If I stop now, I will have to mix a new batch, and the consistency might differ, creating a ridge in the work. I push through the hunger. I push through the stiffness in my neck. I pick up a red macaw feather. I slice the quill. Snip. The sound is loud in the quiet room. I dip the brush. The smell of the orchid root is cloying now, filling my nose. I place the feather. I am an Amanteca. I am a creator of gods and monsters, and the day has only just begun. The sun, Tenochtitlan, has climbed to the very center of the sky. Here in the district of Ahuitzotl, the shadows have retreated beneath our stools and reed mats, vanishing as if afraid of the light. This is the hour of the eagle ascending, time when the light is most unforgiving and most necessary. For an Amanteca, a feather worker, the sun is a tool more vital than the copper blade or the bone smoother. It reveals the truth of the color. I shift my weight on the pedate, the woven reed mat that separates my flesh from the hard-packed earth of the courtyard. My legs have been folded beneath me for 4 hours, and a dull ache radiates from my hips. But I do not break my posture. To move is to risk the breath of air that might scatter the precious piles of down arranged before me. The project before me is a chimney, a war shield commissioned for a high-ranking captain in Ahuitzottl's army. It is a round disc of hardened reeds, reinforced with split bamboo, and covered in a layer of smooth cotton. On this surface, the scribe has already painted the pattern in black ink, a stencil of a roaring jaguar. My task, my sacred duty, is to give the jaguar its skin. My world narrows to the space between my hands. To my left sits a small clay bowl containing the Tenochtitlan. This is the glue that binds our world together. It is made from the dried roots of the orchid, ground into a flour, and mixed with water until it reaches the consistency of syrup. It smells faintly sweet, like vanilla and damp soil, a scent that has permeated my skin since I was a boy. I dip a small brush, made from the hair of a rabbit, into the adhesive. I paint a thin, glistening line onto the cotton backing, right along the edge of the jaguar's jawline. The glue must be tacky, not wet. If it is too wet, it will soak the feather and ruin the iridescent sheen. If it is too dry, the feather will fall before the shield ever sees battle. I reach for the feathers. Today, I am working with the feathers of the lovely Cotinga, the Ahuitzotl. They are a blue so intense it seems to vibrate, a color that belongs to the sky and the water. These are not the long flight feathers used for headdresses. These are the tiny body feathers, no larger than the nail of my thumb. I pick up a single blue feather with a pair of copper tweezers. The metal is cool against my fingertips, warmed only slightly by the midday heat. I hold the feather up to the light. I am looking for flaws, a break in the barbs, a dullness in the sheen. This one is perfect. With a small, razor-sharp copper knife held in my other hand, I slice the quill. I do not cut it off. I split it, flattening the hollow shaft so it will lie flush against the shield. The sound of the copper slicing the quill is a tiny, crisp snap, barely audible over the ambient noise of the city. I place the feather onto the glue. I do not press it with my finger, for the oils of my skin would tarnish it. Instead, I use a bone spatula, polished smooth by years of use, to gently stroke the feather into place. I overlap it with the previous one, like the scales of a fish or the shingles on a roof. The result is a seamless field of blue, a mosaic of living color. The labor is repetitive, yet it demands a trance-like focus. One feather, glue, cut, place, smooth. One feather, glue, cut, place, smooth. My eyes burn. The reflection of the sun on the brilliant blue feathers is dazzling. It is a physical weight, this light. It presses against my forehead. The courtyard is hot, shielded from the breeze by the high adobe walls of the workshop. Sweat trickles down my spine, soaking into the rough fiber of my tilma, the cloak tied over one shoulder. I do not wipe it away. To lift a hand to my face is to take a hand away from the God's work. Around me, the workshop is a hive of quiet intensity. There are 12 of us in this courtyard. We are all men of the guild, bound by blood and trade. To my right sits Tenochtitlan, an elder whose hair is the color of ash. He is working on the jaguar's eye, using the yellow feathers of the Tosli parrot. He moves with a slowness that mimics lethargy, but his results are flawless. He does not waste a single motion. To my left is my nephew, a boy of 14 named Amanteca. He is still learning the art of the glue. He is restless. I can hear his breath hitching, a sign of his frustration. He is trying to adhere the red feathers of the scarlet macaw, the aloe, but he has applied too much Ahuitzotl. The delicate red barbs are clumping together. I do not scold him with words. I simply clear my throat, a low rumble in my chest. Amanteca freezes. He looks at me. I tap the bone spatula against the rim of my glue bowl twice. It is a signal too much. He nods, his face flushing darker than the feathers, and scrapes the ruined section away to begin again. We do not waste the feathers of the macaw. They come from the hot lands, carried on the backs of the Amanteca merchants for hundreds of miles. They cost more than the boy's life is worth. The sounds of Tenochtitlan drift over the walls, a constant, rhythmic thrum. We are an island city, and the water is never silent. I hear the slap of water against the stone embankments of the canals. I hear the shouting of boatmen poling their heavy dugout canoes laden with maize and squash. Somewhere nearby, a conch shell trumpet blasts, a low, mournful sound marking the passage of the sun. It is a priest at a local temple, signaling the time for the midday offering. But the most pervasive sound is the grinding. In every house, in every courtyard, women are bent over the metate, the three-legged stone grinder crushing maize into dough. The shhhka rhythm of stone on stone is the heartbeat of the empire. It signifies that the midday meal is coming. My stomach tightens at the thought. The hunger comes suddenly, sharp and demanding. We have worked since the first light of dawn, with only a bowl of thin gruel to sustain us. A shadow falls across the entrance to the courtyard. The women have arrived. The tension in the workshop breaks instantly. We set down our tools. We cover our work with clean white cotton cloths to protect the feathers from dust and food. The transition from sacred artisan to hungry man is immediate. We stretch our legs, groaning as the blood rushes back into cramped limbs. Joints pop and crack like dry twigs. My wife, Tally, enters carrying a large basket covered with a cloth. She is followed by the wives of the other artisans. They move with efficient grace, setting the baskets down in the center of the courtyard, away from the workstations. The smell hits me before I even see the food. The earthy, alkaline scent of hot corn tortillas, the sharp tang of chili peppers, and the savory richness of stewed beans. I move to the washing basin in the corner. A large clay pot is filled with water brought from the aqueduct that flows from Chapultepec. The water is cool and sweet. I rinse my hands thoroughly, scrubbing away the sticky residue of the orchid glue. My fingers are stained slightly blue from the cotinga feathers, a mark of my trade that never truly washes away. We sit in a circle on the ground, not on the pedates used for work, but on older mats designated for eating. The hierarchy remains, even in dining. The master craftsman, the elder Tenochtitlan, is served first, then the rest of us, by age and rank. Tally hands me a stack of tortillas. They are hot, steaming, and thick. She has made them from maize she soaked in lime water yesterday and ground this morning. They are the plate and the spoon. I tear a piece of the tortilla and use it to scoop up the black beans, which have been stewed with epazote, a pungent herb that aids digestion. Today, because we have finished a commission for the palace, there is meat. A clay pot in the center holds a stew of turkey, simmered in a molly, a sauce made of ground pumpkin seeds, tomatoes, and dried chilies. The sauce is thick and dark red, glistening with fat. I scoop a piece of turkey meat and a generous amount of sauce into a tortilla. The flavor is an explosion of heat and richness. The chili wakes up my tired mind. The pumpkin seeds provide a nutty depth. The turkey is tender, falling apart at the touch. We eat in relative silence at first, the serious business of fueling our bodies taking precedence over conversation. The only sounds are the slapping of hands shaping more tortillas nearby, and the contented sighs of men eating well. We drink atl, a thick beverage made of maize dough dissolved in water and sweetened with honey agave syrup. It is warm and filling, coating the stomach. As the initial hunger subsides, the conversation begins. It is the talk of the trade. Did you see the quality of the green feathers the merchants brought yesterday? Tenochtitlan asks, wiping sauce from his chin. They were dull, old molting. They expect us to make a fan for the emperor with feathers that look like they came from a dead sparrow. I nod in agreement. The tribute from the province of Zakanachko has been lacking lately, I say. The collectors are getting lazy, or perhaps the birds are hiding from them. One of the younger men, a skilled cutter named Matlul, leans in. I heard the Amanteca speak of a new campaign. He whispers. Ahuitzotl looks south again, towards the lands of the Maya. They say the Quetzal birds, there are so numerous, they cloud the sky like green rain. We all fall silent at the mention of the Quetzal. The Quetzalcoatl, its tail feathers, are the most valuable substance in our world, more precious than gold or jade. Gold is excrement of the gods, heavy and cold, but the green feather is life. It is the color of the sprouting maize, the color of water, the color of renewal. To work with Quetzal plumes is to touch the divine. If the emperor conquers the south, our workshops will overflow with green fire. The meal concludes. We do not linger long. The sun is beginning its descent, and although the fiercest heat is passing, the light will change. We need the consistent brightness of the early afternoon to finish the shading on the jaguar. I stand and stretch again. My stomach is full, and a heaviness settles in my limbs. This is the hardest part of the day, fighting the urge to sleep. The heat of the afternoon induces a drowsiness that must be battled with will. I return to my station. I uncover the shield. The jaguar stares back at me, half-skinned. The blue background is vibrant, but the animal itself needs its spots. I pick up my tools. I call to Iktaka. Mix more glue, I tell him, and make it thicker this time. The afternoon heat thins it. He nods, eager to redeem himself. I select a new bundle of feathers. These are black from the grackle. They are not iridescent like the cotinga, but deep and matte, absorbing the light. They will form the rosettes of the jaguar's coat. The work resumes. The rhythm returns. Cut, glue, place, smooth. The sounds of the city change slightly. The frantic energy of the morning market has dulled. The city settles into a steady, enduring hum. I can hear the distant chanting of priests from the great temple, carried on the wind. They are singing to Ahuitzotl, the hummingbird of the left, the god of sun and war. It is fitting. I am making a shield for his warriors. I am an Amanteca. I take the birds of the sky and turn them into the armor of gods. I pick up a black feather. I slice the quill. The copper knife snaps. I place it on the glue. My back aches. My eyes water. My fingers are stiff. But as I smooth the black feather into the sea of yellow, the jaguar seems to breathe. It is not just a shield. It is a living thing, born from my hands, fed by the orchid and the bird. I work on. The sun moves across the sky, changing the angle of the shadows in the courtyard. I will not stop until the light fails me. There is too much to do, and the Emperor's war does not wait for the craftsman. I reach for another feather. The world is blue and yellow and black. The world is glue and cotton. This is my life. This is the midday of my existence. I am content. The bone spatula slides over the down. Smooth. Perfect. Next feather. I look at the pile of raw materials remaining. There is a bundle of yellow feathers from the troupial bird that needs to be sorted by size. I gesture to Ahuitzotl. Sort these, I say softly, by length, and do not sneeze. He smiles, a small, nervous expression, and begins the task. The boy has good hands, steady hands. He will make a fine master one day, if the wars do not take him, or if the gods do not demand his heart. But for now, he is here, safe in the shade of the courtyard, learning the language of the birds. A fly buzzes around my head, drawn by the smell of the glue. I blow it away with a sharp puff of air. It is a minor annoyance. Nothing breaks the trance. I pick up the obsidian blade this time for a tougher quill. The volcanic glass is sharper than the copper, sharper than anything in the world. It slices through the keratin shaft as if it were air. I must be careful. One slip, and I will slice my own finger, bleeding onto the white cotton. Blood is powerful, but it stains brown, and it has no place on a shield of blue and gold. I check the alignment of the pattern. The jaguar's paw is raised, claws extended. I need to switch to white feathers for the claws. I use the down of a white duck, dyed slightly with alum to brighten it. The transition of colors is the mark of a master. It cannot be abrupt. It must flow like water. I intersperse a few pale yellow feathers with the white, creating a gradient that mimics the play of light on a claw. I lean back for a moment to judge the effect. It is good. The claw looks sharp, dangerous. It looks real. Telakalil coughs, a dry, dusty sound. He reaches for his gourd of water and takes a sip. The light is good today, he murmurs, not looking up from his work. It is good, I reply. We speak no more. There is no need. The work speaks for us. The feathers speak for us. In the silence of the afternoon, in the heart of the great city of Tenochtitlan, we weave the sky into the earth. We are the Amanteca, and we have much work to do before the sun dies in the west. The sun has moved past the zenith, slipping toward the western mountains that ring our great basin. The sharp, vertical shadows of midday have begun to lean and lengthen, stretching across the courtyard of our workshop in the district of Amanteca. The heat is heavy now. It is not the piercing burn of the morning sun, but a thick, stifling weight that rises from the lake waters surrounding Tenochtitlan and settles into the marrow of your bones. The air in the workshop is still. We keep the reed mats hung over the doorways to prevent even the slightest breeze from disturbing the down. But this traps the warmth and the smells inside with us. The atmosphere is thick with the scent of Ahuitzotl. It is a smell that defines my life, sweet and pungent, born from the bulbs of orchids harvested in the mountains and boiled down into a viscous, amber adhesive. It smells of earth and sugar and patience. By this time of day, the smell clings to the back of my throat. It is on my fingers, in my hair, and embedded in the fibers of my cotton loincloth. I shift my weight on the petlettle mat. My legs have been folded beneath me for 6 hours, and the ache in my knees is a dull, throbbing companion. I do not move them yet. To move is to break the rhythm, and the rhythm is the only thing that carries a feather worker through the long drag of the afternoon. My workspace is a low wooden table, polished smooth by years of elbows and palms. Before me lies the chimeli, the shield of a high-ranking captain within the Eagle Warrior Order. It is not a shield for deflecting obsidian blades in the heat of battle, though the backing is sturdy reeds reinforced with split bamboo. This is a shield for the dance, for the procession, for the display of power that terrifies our enemies before a single blow is struck. The design is a complex geometric pattern of the sun, radiating outward. I am currently working on the third ring from the center. This is the most unforgiving section. It requires the feathers of the lovely cotinga, the Ahuitzotl. These feathers are not merely blue. They are the color of the sky at the very top of the world, a blue so electric and vibrant that it seems to hum with its own light. They are incredibly small, and they are incredibly expensive. Each tiny square of color is a fortune brought by the Amanteca merchants from the hot lands far to the south. To waste one is a sin against the craft. To waste two is a crime against the guild. I reach for my copper knife. The blade is thin, almost like a leaf, and kept razor sharp. I pick up a single cotinga feather. It is no longer than the width of my thumbnail. The afternoon light, filtering through the gaps in the roof, catches the iridescence. If I tilt it one way, it is turquoise. Another way, it is deep azure. This is the hard work. This is the mosaic. I take the bone spatula, a tool carved from the leg of a deer, and dip it into the gourd of orchid glue. The glue has thickened slightly in the afternoon heat. I have to gauge its consistency perfectly. Too wet, and it will soak through the delicate feather, darkening its color and ruining the sheen. Too dry, and the feather will peel away in a year, leaving a gap like a missing tooth. I spread the thinnest film of glue onto the Ahuitzotl paper stencil that guides my hand. Then, holding my breath, I lift the feather with a pair of wooden tweezers. My hand hovers. The tremor of fatigue is there, a ghost in the muscles of my forearm. I can feel the tension running from my wrist, up my elbow, and burying itself in the knot of muscle between my shoulder blades. My eyes burn, staring at such small, bright objects for hours creates a phantom image that floats in my vision whenever I blink. I see blue squares against the darkness of my eyelids. I lower the feather. I press it down with a soft, dry cloth. I hold it for the space of 3 heartbeats. 1, 2, 3. I lift the cloth. The feather is set. It overlaps its neighbor by exactly the width of a single hair, creating a seamless surface that looks not like individual feathers, but like a solid plate of turquoise stone, yet soft to the touch. 1 down, 300 to go for this ring alone. The silence of the room is not empty. It is filled with the sounds of labor. To my left, my brother is working on a fan, tying long green quetzal plumes onto a bamboo frame. I hear the soft friction of agave thread being pulled taut against wood. The sound is rhythmic, like the rasp of a cricket. To my right, the apprentices are preparing the base layers. They are cutting dyed rabbit fur to create the underpadding that gives the mosaic its depth. I hear the snip of their copper shears and the soft rustle of the fur. Occasionally, a stomach rumbles. We ate our midday meal of tortillas and beans hours ago, and the heavy digestion adds to the lethargy of the afternoon. No one speaks. Conversation is for the morning, when the mind is fresh, or the evening, when the work is done. The afternoon is for survival. I reach for another feather. This one has a slight imperfection, a tiny notch near the quill. I cannot use it for the surface. I sigh, a long exhalation through my nose, and set it aside in a separate gourd for lesser works. The light begins to change. This is the enemy of the Amanteca. As the sun drops lower, the light turns golden. It warms the room, painting the white plaster walls with the color of maize. But this yellow light is treacherous. It alters the way the eye perceives color. Under the golden sun, the electric blue of the cotinga can look greenish. The deep red of the roseate spoonbill can look muddy. I have to finish the blue section before the light turns too orange. If I switch to the red feathers now, while my eyes are adjusted to the blue, I will misjudge the contrast. I speed up, fighting the stiffness in my fingers. Dip, spread, place, press. My neck screams in protest. I rotate my head, and a series of soft pops echoes in the quiet room. One of the apprentices, a boy named T. Lanksley, drops his glue spatula. It clatters against the stone floor, a harsh, jarring noise that makes 3 of us jump. I freeze, my hand hovering over the mosaic. I look up slowly. T. Lanksley is frozen, his eyes wide. He knows the rule. Sudden noises can cause a master to slip. A slip can ruin a week of work. He looks at me, terror in his face. He is young, perhaps 12. His fingers are still clumsy, his patience still thin. He is tired, just as I am. I look at the shield. I did not slip. The gods are kind today. I look back at the boy. I do not shout. Shouting wastes energy. I simply point to the spatula on the floor. Pick it up, I say. My voice sounds raspy, unused for hours. Clean it. If there is dust in the glue, the bond will fail. He scrambles to obey, wiping the bone tool on his loincloth with frantic motions. I watch him for a moment. I see myself in him 20 years ago. The panic of the mistake, the exhaustion of the posture, the awe of the materials. He is working on a practice piece, a simple flower made of dyed duck feathers. It is crude, the spacing uneven, the glue too thick in places. But he is trying. Take a breath. T-Linksley, I say, my voice softer. The feathers know if you are afraid. If you tremble, they will fly away from you. He nods, taking a deep, shuddering breath. I return to the blue ring. The heat seems to intensify as the afternoon drags on. Sweat trickles down my spine, itching where the waistband of my loincloth sits. I want to scratch it, but my hands are sticky with orchid bulb juice. I simply have to endure the itch. It is a small torture, but in the silence of the workshop, it feels massive. I focus on the texture of the work. The beauty of feather mosaic is not just in the color, but in the way it interacts with light. Unlike paint, which is flat, feathers have structure. They have microscopic barbs that catch the light and trap it. When the shield is finished and the captain dances in the sunlight, the image of the sun upon it will seem to ripple and burn as if it were alive. That is the magic we create. We do not just make pictures. We capture the life force of the bird and bind it to the will of the warrior. But right now, it is just repetitive, back-breaking labor. I finish the section of blue. I lean back, bracing my hands on my knees to support my spine. I close my eyes for a moment, letting the darkness soothe the burn. When I open them, the light in the room has definitely shifted. The squares of sunlight on the floor have elongated into rectangles and turned the color of dried grass. It is time to switch tasks. I cannot trust my eyes for color matching anymore today. I cover the glue gourd with a damp cloth to keep it from skinning over. I wipe my spatula clean. I carefully cover the shield with a sheet of fine white cotton. Dust is the enemy. A single speck of dust trapped under a feather creates a lump that ruins the smoothness of the surface. I stand up. My knees pop loudly, and a wave of dizziness washes over me as the blood rushes from my head to my legs. I steady myself against the table. I walk to the back of the workshop where the raw materials are stored. It is cooler here in the shadows. There are cedar chests filled with bundles of feathers, wrapped in paper and sprinkled with dried tobacco to keep the mites away. My task for the late afternoon is less delicate, but physically harder. I must prepare the backing for the next project, a tall back banner to be worn by a commander. It requires a framework of split bamboo and reed, bound together with heavy agave twine. I sit on a lower stool, picking up the heavy knife. I begin to split the bamboo. Crack. The sound is satisfyingly sharp. I strip the green skin from the bamboo, working the fibers until they are smooth and pliable. This uses different muscles. My shoulders engage, my biceps burn, but my eyes can rest. I do not need to squint. I can feel the bamboo, judging its flexibility with my hands. The other men in the workshop are also shifting their tasks. The intense silence of the mosaic work lifts. A low murmur of conversation begins to ripple through the room. It starts with a groan from my cousin, who stretches his arms high above his head. My back feels like it has been trampled by a tapir, he mutters. I grunt in agreement, scraping the bamboo. It is the price we pay. We talk of small things, the price of beans in the market, the rumor that the emperor is planning a new campaign to the coast, the quality of the latest shipment of glue. This batch is slightly too watery, we agree. It requires longer boiling. The social dynamic shifts from a collection of isolated individuals to a cohesive unit. We are a guild. We are the Amanteca. We share a god, Ahuitzotl, who watches over us. We share the secrets of the birds. No one outside this room understands the difference between the blue of the cotinga and the blue of the hummingbird. To the nobles, it is just blue. To us, it is a language. As the sun touches the rim of the mountains, the light inside the workshop fails. It is no longer safe to work with knives. Cleaning up is a ritual as strict as the work itself. We do not just stop, we deconstruct the workspace. I gather the bamboo shavings and place them in a basket to be used as kindling. I check the glue gourds one last time. I ensure the feathers are sealed tight. The wind can pick up in the evening, and if a sudden gust were to blow through a window and scatter the cotinga feathers, it would be a financial disaster that could ruin the family. I watch T-Linksley. He is sweeping the floor with a broom made of stiff twigs. He looks exhausted, his shoulders slumped. You did well today, I say to him. The flour is improving. He looks up, a smudge of blue dye on his cheek. Thank you, master. The glue. It dries so fast. It does, I agree. It waits for no one. You must learn to be faster than the air. The drums begin to sound from the great temple in the center of the city. The deep booming resonance travels through the stone of the city, vibrating in the floor beneath our feet. It marks the sunset. The priests are offering incense to Ahuitzotl, ensuring the sun has the strength to travel through the underworld and rise again tomorrow. We wash our hands in a basin of water. The water turns cloudy and gray as the glue and dust dissolve. I scrub my fingers with a rough stone to remove the sticky residue. My skin is stained with patches of dye, red, blue, yellow, the marks of my trade. We step out of the workshop and into the courtyard. The change in atmosphere is immediate. The air is cooling rapidly. The stifling humidity of the afternoon has lifted, replaced by a fresh breeze coming off the lake. The sky above is a bruising purple, fading into the last gasp of orange in the west. The sounds of the city wash over us. During the day, inside the workshop, the world is muffled. Now I hear the life of Tenochtitlan. I hear the slap of water against the canals, the distant bark of dogs, the chatter of neighbors preparing their evening fires. The smell of wood smoke begins to drift through the air, mixing with the scent of roasting maize and chili peppers. My body feels heavy, drained of all energy. The long drag is over, but it has taken its toll. My fingers feel thick and clumsy now that the delicate work is done. My vision is slightly blurred at the edges, but there is a satisfaction in the fatigue. I think of the shield covered in the white cloth. Tomorrow I will finish the blue ring, then the red, then the gold. It will be a masterpiece. It will shine in the sun, and men will gasp when they see it. They will not see the back pain. They will not see the hours of holding my breath. They will not see the boy dropping the spatula. They will only see the glory of the god. I turn to my brother. The sweat bath tonight. I ask. He nods slowly, rubbing his neck. Yes, the steam is necessary. If I do not sweat the stiffness out, I will not be able to sit tomorrow. We walk toward the gate of our compound. The work is done. The sun has died. We are just men again, hungry and tired, walking home under the rising stars. The light begins to die, not suddenly, but with a treacherous slowness that threatens the integrity of my work. In the district of Amanteca, the sun does not merely set, it retreats, pulling the vibrancy out of the world. The iridescent green of the Quetzal plumes, which only moments ago shimmered like liquid emeralds under the afternoon glare, now dulls to a flat, dark olive. It is the signal to stop. To continue now would be to invite error. And in the service of the great speaker Ahuitzotl, an error is not merely a mistake. It is a blasphemy against the perfection required of our caste. I lift my hands from the work table. My fingers are stiff, locked into the curvature of the tweezers and the blade. I flex them, feeling the knuckles pop. a dry sound like twigs snapping in a fire. The cramping is a familiar companion, a dull ache that travels from my fingertips up to my elbow. The price of holding a single breath while adhering a turquoise feather no larger than a mosquito's wing to the cotton backing. The workshop grows quiet. The rhythmic tapping of my apprentices has ceased. They know the rhythm of the light as well as I do. Now begins the ritual of preservation. We do not simply walk away from such wealth. I pick up the small brush made of soft rabbit hair and gently sweep the stray filaments from the workspace. These scraps are not discarded. Even the dust of these feathers has value. I collect the azure down of the cotinga and the red remnants of the macaw, placing them into small gourd bowls. Next, the glue. The orchid bulb adhesive, the Ahuitzotl, has begun to thicken in its clay pot. If left overnight, it will turn into a useless stone. I take a wet cloth and wipe the rim of the pot, sealing it tight with a leather cover to keep the moisture in. The smell of the glue is sweet and earthy, like the forest floor after rain. A scent that has permeated my skin so deeply that I no longer smell it on myself, though my wife tells me I carry the aroma of the jungle wherever I go. The apprentices move to the cedar chests. This is the most critical moment. The unfinished shield, the chimney, rests on its wooden frame. It depicts the coyote deity, fur rendered in thousands of microscopic feathers. We cover it first with a sheet of fine, white cotton, ensuring no fabric touches the glued surface. Then, with the reverence one might show a sleeping infant, we lower the frame into the large wooden box. The heavy lid descends. The darkness seals the colors away. I stand and stretch, my spine cracking. I untie the leather apron that protects my tilma. It is stained with spots of glue and charcoal. I fold it and place it on my stool. The workshop is now just a room of shadows and wood. The magic is hidden. I step out of the workshop and into the courtyard of our compound. The air outside is different. Inside, it was still and heavy with concentration. Outside, the evening breeze off the Great Lake Texcoco carries the chill of the high valley. It smells of burning pine, roasting maize, and the distinctive brackish odor of the canals, a scent of stagnant water and life. My house is modest on the outside, for it is wise for the Amanteca to hide our wealth. We are artisans, not nobles, and to outshine the warriors is to invite jealousy. But here, within the high adobe walls of the courtyard, the quality of our life is visible. The ground is swept clean, hard-packed earth that feels cool through the soles of my sandals. Potted succulents and flowers line the walls, their leaves dark in the twilight. I hear the sound of the metate before I see her. My wife is kneeling under the overhang of the kitchen area, her body rocking in a rhythmic, eternal motion. The stone grinding stone against the stone basin creates a sound that is the heartbeat of Tenochtitlan. Shhh-tuck, shhh-tuck. She is grinding the nixtamel, the maize soaked in lime water, breaking down the kernels into the white dough that sustains us. I approach the water jar, standing by the entrance to the main room. I dip a gourd into the cold water and pour it over my hands. I scrub vigorously. The orchid glue is stubborn. I use a small pumice stone to abrade the sticky residue from my fingertips. I wash my face, the shock of the cold water washing away the fatigue of the eyes. I rinse my mouth, spitting the water into the drainage channel that runs along the wall. Cleanliness is close to godliness. Filth is for the uncivilized tribes of the north, not for a citizen of the center of the world. My wife looks up. Her face is illuminated by the orange glow of the hearth fire. She pauses her grinding and wipes her forehead with the back of her hand. We do not embrace wildly. Such displays are not our way. A nod, a softening of the eyes, is enough. The light held long today, she says. Her voice is low, competing with the crackle of the wood in the fire. Long enough, I reply. The coyote on the shield has his eyes now. He watches. She nods and returns to the dough, patting a ball of it between her palms. Clap, clap, clap. The sound is sharp and comforting. She flattens it into a perfect disc and lays it onto the comal, the clay griddle heated by the coals. The scent of toasting maize rises instantly, a smell that triggers a deep, primal hunger in my belly. I enter the main room of the house. It is windowless to keep out the cold and the bad airs of the night. The only light comes from the doorway and the small fire in the central hearth. The floor is covered in woven reed mats, pedates, layered thick to provide insulation from the earth. The walls are stuccoed white and hung with cotton drapes dyed with indigo and cochineal. My children are there. My son, 10 years of age, sits cross-legged, his hands busy knotting a net. He looks up as I enter. He does not jump up to greet me. He waits for me to sit. I lower myself onto my ikepelly, the low wooden seat with a backrest, reserved for the head of the household. Only now do I relax the muscles of my back. Have you finished your duties? I ask him. Yes, Father, he answers, keeping his eyes lowered in respect. I carried the water from the aqueduct pipe. I swept the street in front of the gate, and I have practiced the knotting you showed me. Show me. He holds up the net. The knots are tight, but the spacing is uneven. I take it from him. My fingers, sensitive to the slightest imperfection from years of handling feathers, trace the twine. Here I point to a loose junction, and here a bird would slip through this. A fish would wriggle free. If you are to be an artisan, your hands must be smarter than your head. The head forgets, the hands must remember. I hand it back. I am not cruel, but I am exacting. He must learn. The world is a hard place, and incompetence is punished by starvation or the battlefield. He nods and begins to untie the knot to fix it. My daughter enters from the back room, carrying a bowl of sauce. She is younger, 7 years old, her hair cut short. She places the bowl near the hearth. It is filled with a dark, rich mully tomatoes, ground pumpkin seeds, and dried chilies. The meal is ready. My wife brings the basket of hot tortillas, wrapped in a cloth to keep them steaming. She places them in the center of the mat. We sit in a circle, though I remain on my stool while they sit on the mats. We eat in silence at first. The hunger is a physical weight that must be lifted. I take a hot tortilla, the steam burning my fingers slightly, a good pain. I tear off a piece, using it as a spoon to scoop up the black beans and the spicy tomato sauce. The taste is intense. The heat of the chili wakes up the tongue. The earthiness of the beans grounds the spirit, and the maize provides the sweetness. Tonight there is a treat. My wife has prepared frogs, caught in the canals this morning. They are grilled, the meat tender and smoky. We are not eating venison or turkey like the high nobles. But we do not eat only beans and weeds like the Ahuitzotl, the commoners. We eat well. The Amanteca are favored. I chew slowly. It is vulgar to stuff one's mouth. We eat with 3 fingers of the right hand. To use the whole hand is to eat like a beast. I watch my children. My daughter eats delicately. My son is hungrier, but he mimics my movements, tearing his tortilla with precision. The market was loud today, my wife says, breaking the silence once the initial edge of hunger is gone. The merchants from the coast have arrived. They say the price of cotton is rising. Cotton always rises when the rains are heavy in the east, I note, dipping another piece of maize into the sauce. But we have stock, and the palace supplies the backing for the emperor's commissions. We need not worry. And the feathers, she asks. Did the Amanteca bring the tribute? They brought the scarlet macaw, I say, my voice lowering, and the blue cotinga. But the quetzal, the tails were not as long as the last season. We will have to be clever with the layering to hide the defects. We discuss the business of the household. This is not idle chatter. The household is a unit of production. My wife weaves the cotton mantles we trade. She negotiates for the food. She manages the servants. Her work allows mine to exist. After the meal, the clay bowls are collected. My daughter aids her mother in wiping them out with water and sand. I remain on my stool. This is the time for the evening tobacco. I take a small reed tube filled with tobacco and sweet gum. I light the end from a coal in the hearth. I take a draw, the smoke harsh and biting in my lungs. sending a light buzz to my head. It dulls the ache in my shoulders. I blow the smoke toward the 4 cardinal directions: east, where the sun is born; west, where it dies; north, the land of the dead; south, the land of thorns; and finally, a puff to the center, to the hearth, to Ahuitzotl, the old god of fire who dwells in the coals. Listen to me, I say to my son, who has finished his nodding and sits waiting. The lessons of the evening begin. This is the duty of the father. To leave a child untaught is to leave a fruit tree unpruned. It will grow wild and useless. The world is slippery, I tell him, reciting the Ahuitzotl, the ancient words of the elders. It is slick like the mud of the lake. One wrong step and you fall. You are an Amanteca. We are the shadow behind the gold. We make the emperor shine, but we must not shine ourselves. Do you understand? Yes, Father. Pride is a trap. Diligence, I correct him. Diligence is the shield. When you work the feathers, you do not think of the glory. You think of the bird. You think of the life that was given so you could hold that color. You treat the feather better than you treat your own skin. If you are lazy, the gods will see. If you are clumsy, the gods will see. And if you are dishonest, if you steal even a single plume, you will be cast out. You will be nothing. He listens, his eyes wide. The fear of social ostracization is the most powerful tool we have. To be an outcast is death. Tomorrow, I say, softening my tone, you will begin to learn how to mix the glue. You will learn the ratio of the orchid bulb to the water. It is a secret of our guild. You will tell no one. Not your friends, not the boys in the ball court. I will be silent as a stone, he promises. The fire in the hearth has burned down to glowing red eyes. The room is cooling rapidly. The high altitude of the valley means the nights are frigid, even in summer. The wind whistles softly through the eaves of the roof. It is time, my wife says. The transition to sleep is efficient. We do not have separate rooms for sleeping. We sleep together in the main hall, for warmth and for safety. The servants sleep in the outer structures, but the family sleeps here. We stand and move the mats. We unroll the heavy sleeping blankets made of cotton and rabbit fur. They are thick and heavy, a luxury that separates us from the cold earth. I remove my sandals and my mantle. I am left in my loincloth. The air bites at my skin. I quickly slide under the covers. The mats are firm beneath me, a familiar hardness that aligns the spine. My wife settles beside me. We lie on our sides, conserving heat. The children are on their own mats nearby, huddled under their own blankets. The room is pitch black now, save for the faint ruby glow of the hearth embers. I close my eyes, but sleep does not come immediately. My mind is still in the workshop. I see the shield of the coyote. I visualize the next step for the morning. I must layer the pink feathers of the spoonbill to create the tongue. I must be careful with the adhesive. Too much and it stains. Too little and it falls. I hear the sounds of the city settling down. The great metropolis of Tenochtitlan never truly sleeps, but its rhythm changes. The shouting of the market is gone. The splashing of the thousands of canoes has faded to a trickle. Now I hear the distant, mournful sound of a conch shell trumpet blowing from the top of the great temple. Miles away in the sacred precinct, it marks the hour of the night. The priests are awake, offering blood and incense to keep the sun moving, to ensure it rises again tomorrow. I am grateful for their labor. My labor is with feathers. Theirs is with the cosmos. Both are necessary. My hands throb slightly. I tuck them against my chest to keep them warm. These hands are my life. They are the tools that feed my family. I flex them one last time in the dark, checking their strength. The breathing of my children slows, becoming the rhythmic huff of deep sleep. My wife shifts, her breathing syncing with theirs. The safety of the home encloses us. The walls are thick. The gods have been fed. The work is covered and safe. I let go of the shield. I let go of the feathers. I let go of the emperor and his demands. The darkness of the room merges with the darkness behind my eyelids. The cold is kept at bay by the rabbit fur. I drift, falling into the black water of sleep, waiting for the sun to demand my service once again.